Excellent. Great. Here. Over here. Over here. Great. Excellent. Let's see about adding this to Discord. Good, that's all set up too. Hello, if you're out there. I do see that there's someone out there. Not really doing anything yet. I'm just kind of setting up the stream. But feel free to hang out. I've got some music going and stuff. Let me know if the audio sounds weird or whatever else. Great. Excellent. Oh, hello. Hello, hello. I don't entirely know how well it's going to go to try to work on tickets while also live streaming, but I guess we're going to find out. So, oh, hi. Hello. Welcome. Nice to see you, Peepops. How are you today? Ten-second delay? That's not too bad. Excellent. Oh, I'm glad your friend made it back home. That's excellent. Love to hear some good news for the day. What do you got on the agenda for today? You working on anything interesting? Some mini greenhouses, hey? Working on your seed starting setup? I know you've already got some seeds started, but you expanding that to put out even more? Nice, nice. What are you most excited about growing this year between veggies or flowers or anything else? Is there anything in particular that you're just like really excited about? 272 cells. Man, that's a lot of plants to be starting. That's really exciting. Hopefully that means you'll get a decent harvest this year. I know you're still getting yourself established, but that's some nice potential right there. Oh yeah, absolutely. I can definitely understand that. Well, I hope you have a much better time up in New York than you did in Florida. Like, I know that changing growing zones can be a bit of a change, but if you were struggling in Florida, hopefully the New York climate's a little bit more, conducive to that. I think we've struggled with peas and zucchinis a bit here too, but I also think we need to amend our soil probably a bit more and, work on just being able to be outside more. That's beautiful. I love that. The sort of ancestral connection with the land, so to speak. Like, that's really great. If so, my grandparents actually owned a farm back in the day, and they sold that farm, which actually created the trust that currently we're living off of to have our own homestead. So while the land is not the same, and while it could have been really cool to inherit a farm that was actually owned by my grandparents, um, we're kind of doing the same thing in the sense that like the farm that we had is now funding the farm that we're trying to have now, which I think is really exciting in of itself. I'm preparing for training right now that I'm going to be traveling to San Antonio next this coming week to give. So forgive me if I'm a bit in and out when it comes to the conversation. I think I'm all mostly prepared for the presentation that we're supposed to be giving. It's going to be a very fast and loose like training and then kind of live hackathon thing. Um, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I think I'm mostly prepared. It's just a lot to kind of have ready for uh, the next couple of days because I fly out tomorrow. I'm really excited for you. You've had a lot of wins this year in a lot of ways, and now that your significant other has gotten a new, at least more promising job, um, I hope the good news continues. I hope you all are able to save up some money and get a house and get some land to do what you want to do. I'm also glad that you don't have to wait for that. I know that a lot of times it can feel really intimidating to be kind of stuck in a place, but you're not exactly stuck in a place. You're able to do things now, which is very exciting. So I'm grateful that you've had so much luck in that arena. You put in a lot of hard work for it. So good job. Yeah, that's how it goes, right? Lots of years in the planning and lots of years till it pays off as well. But when it does, it's real great. I feel like I've got to clean out all my tabs. This entire last week was just so busy trying to prep for the upcoming training and everything else. I've just got like 50 tabs built up in my main browser, and I'm going to be using my computer for the presentation this week. So I got to try to make sure I have things organized and cleaned out a bit. So just tediously going through my tabs and figuring out which ones I still need. Hey, if you have to cry, I'm glad it's out of joy. I mean, there's plenty of other reasons to cry too, and crying's not bad, you know, like it's important, but like I'm really glad that you get the joyful tears to offset some of the others. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a big schedule change for you with having your significant other working kind of 12-hour days on and off shifts. So it sounds like you get to work with a lot of different stuff. I saw a little bit in the Discord about things you're planning on doing. Yeah, I totally understand. Like, absolutely. It's really great to have that freed up so that you actually have your most productive time in a space where you can actually do things. That's really exciting. And I do hope that you get a chance to do a bit more streaming and stuff like you've indicated that you wanted to do. I can't wait to join you on some of those streams, at least as a viewer, you know. I'm hoping to stream more too. So I figured out that with the changes that they've made in our area and improved our access to 5G out in the country, I can actually use my hotspot with that internet to be able to stream. The stream is the quality that you're seeing here, so not like the best, but you know, good enough, at least to talk through and stuff. I'm excited to see if I can stream a bit of Minecraft and some Vault Hunters. I'm also looking to stream probably some like WordPress tutorials or something like that, like build a site live or something like that. I've got a few things that I really want to work on, but you know, I'd love to teach people how to do stuff, but also learn how to do things live and allow people to do things like create their own websites or their own online stores or their own online communities and just kind of do it live. Yeah, it's been a busy 6 months, maybe more. But this is nice. This is absolutely nice. I've been craving streaming for a really long time. Because I like doing YouTube videos, like straight up YouTube videos. I really enjoy the process. I love editing. It takes so much goddamn time. Like just straight up, it takes so much time and focus, and to be able to like sit down and get into it. For every like 20-minute video, I probably put in 20 hours worth of work when it comes to filming and editing, if not more. And that's just been really hard to do. Whereas going live is just going live. I'm here now, like that's it's just as simple as that. And so like I wanted to be able to start doing that because like I really want to build out what I'm doing next in terms of my career. My career has so far been fine, but not the most satisfying. Um I'd like to do something creative, so this is kind of my outlet for that. Yeah, I hear you. Absolutely. I'd love to do editing for other people and everything else too. Like I really, really like making videos in that style, but I've got a lot to learn. And it's just really hard to take the time to learn all that when I'm spending so much time on my full-time job and trying to like, do a good job of it. But again, at least with live streaming, I can hop on, hang out with people for a bit, and hop off again, and it's just done. It's just one and done. So that's really nice. And maybe eventually, considering that these VODs are going to be saved just like through YouTube and everything, I can start practicing on editing that footage and start producing things. But um, at least this will give me something to start with, right? Absolutely. Have you ever done any sort of work with WordPress before? Not necessarily on the development side or anything, but even on the content creation side? Yeah, kinda. Oh yeah. It can easily become too much, like very quickly, and you do have to be very determined to keep things simple because there are ways that you can overcomplicate things very quickly. And considering that, like, my experience is largely working with Fortune 500 customers and everything else when it comes to WordPress and using WordPress for things that it's not designed for. Uh, yeah, the overcomplication thing is absolutely real. Also, say hello to Kenny. And little Kenny, little Ken man. He wanted to come sit in my lap, and I can't tell him no. So here he is. At least until he starts shouting and wants to get down again. You're a TV star, Kenny. I really want to do a tutorial or at least a series of tutorials because I don't think you can do it in one. But like what I would really like to do is to show people how they could use WordPress for more than just a website or a blog or more than just an online store. Because I think when you think of, websites, you think of the public facing sort of thing, right? You think about, okay, this is my marketing, this is my advertising, this is how I can make money through, the stores and stuff, which is all well and good. It's great. But there's other things that you can do with it too, right? Like you can have a private site, even just loaded on your computer, that you could be using to like store your garden plans or your recipes or sort of organizational things, because all WordPress is like a database with some sort of interface, right? And it's an interface that you can kind of customize and do yourself. But as long as you can kind of think about things as just like data in a notebook, you can do it with WordPress. And using the taxonomy and tagging system, you can actually, start to figure things out a little bit better. And that way, like if you want to take notes that are specifically on your tomatoes per se, right? You can tag those posts with tomatoes. And then when you want to like look back and figure out, okay, what went well, what went poorly in this last year with my tomatoes, you can then look at the tomatoes tag, right? And to pull up all the notes on that. And because WordPress is open source, like it doesn't cost you anything to be able to set one up on your own computer. For doing a website that's like public, there is some additional costs when it comes to hosting or when it comes to creating a domain name. And especially when you start getting into online stores, there's going to be like your transaction fees because you can't get out of digital transaction fees. You can reduce them as much as you want, but like the credit cards are still going to take a cut of your money, right? But like for doing your own personal stuff, or if you want to like organize your life, you can do all of that for free. And I think that's really cool, especially like if you have a homestead, like there's a lot of data that you are going to want to capture. And sometimes it's going to be capturing it in a whole bunch of different places, but WordPress can put a place to put all that in one place. It is very easy to get frustrated on technology and stuff. I think one of the biggest skills that's required when really learning to do this stuff on your own, instead of relying on like a company to do a lot of the work for you, is to figure out how to get past those frustrating moments. And it's not the most easy, especially at first, right? Like you got to build your, I don't remember what it is called, but it's like basically technical resilience or whatever. Um, which just means getting used to being frustrated and then like taking a breath, going back to the thing, or asking people for help, researching things on Stack Overflow. Like it's intimidating for a reason. I understand why people haven't gotten into a lot of this technology themselves, but also I'm hoping that I can help make things a little bit more accessible by not only doing tutorials, but making myself available for help, right? I love supporting people when it comes to WordPress. Like that's my favorite part of my job. I love teaching it. I love teaching technology in general. So like I really want to kind of open a like here's a helpline sort of thing so that people can submit questions and then I can create videos or go live and just answer them live, that sort of thing. Um, and I know there's a lot of other YouTubers out there who do kind of the same thing, but I don't know. I enjoy doing it, so I want to do it too. I've met a lot of people who don't really feel smart when it comes to tech, um, and feel bad for being self-taught or whatever. But like, I'm also self-taught, and it just takes time. Like, it takes time and familiarity, and a lot of when you don't have that, like the learning curve is steep. It is. It's absolutely steep. And it takes a lot of trial and error and a lot of fumbling around. Uh, but I found that like if you can at least have a foothold and a foothold that you can come back to kind of regularly, um, that can be really helpful. Yeah, it's true. Every person does show a different way of doing things, and a lot of the people who are out there are very professional, which is great. That works for a lot of people. They're really focused on doing things in kind of like a commercial manner. Um, honestly, a lot of the YouTubers I've looked up that do WordPress stuff tend to do things a lot with plugins, which is great, but I feel like isn't the direction that I want to go. I want to teach people how to do things with minimal plugins, because I want people to like understand it a little bit more fundamentally. Now there are exceptions to this. For creating like an online store, you're going to want to use a plugin, and you're probably going to want to use WooCommerce. WooCommerce is an Automattic product. Disclaimer: I work for Automattic, but it's also the like top, I guess, e-commerce platform for WordPress, at least for right now. There's definitely a few people who are writing some competing plugins for it, but it is the top. For doing things like an online community, I'll probably be working with BuddyPress, which is a really classic online community. It's a forum platform, but it works on top of WordPress. I don't know if that's made by Automatic or just an open source project that Automatic's heavily involved in. Could be either. Could be both. I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Maybe I'll start with just kind of a simple like, here's how to set it up on your computer. It's going to be different for me than it is for probably some other people because I'm running on a Mac, but it shouldn't be that much harder to install it on Windows. And then kind of show how you can set things up as like a personal journal. And I've been playing around with some new tools that we've opened up. There's something called WordPress Playground, which I will just put into chat. Because WordPress Playground is like, there's no setup for like putting it on your computer or installing it on a server. It's really just you load it up and suddenly you can, start working with WordPress. There's no like additional setup to go beyond that. So like that's really exciting to work with. I think it's extremely exciting as a developer, especially because who I'm training next week is a bunch of developers who have never really worked with WordPress, or at least that's my understanding. So being able to give them this playground where they don't have to do any sort of setup before actually looking at WordPress or what WordPress has to offer, I think that's going to be really exciting. Because, like as a developer, like when you're setting up your own WordPress instance, there's some work to it. It's not too hard, but there's some work to it. And so like reducing as many barriers as possible before getting into there and actually working with the tool, I think is really important. Yeah. Regarding WooCommerce being confusing, I've heard that too. I've heard that it has some other issues. I know they're working really hard this year on trying to make it more user friendly because it has not been the most user friendly. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I haven't really played around with it personally myself, so it's going to be an adventure for everything. And honestly, I'm like that with a lot of things. So I think one of the things that I'm going to be able to bring to this channel that other people may not is just the beginner's perspective. Like I'm going to hop into it live, just like everybody else, and I'm going to stumble my way through it. And I'm going to show where I get confused or where I'm like looking for information and how I go about that stuff, because I think that process is really useful too. I think a lot of people are very focused on providing like knowledgeable and practice tutorials, which I very much appreciate as well. Um, but I think there's also value to watching people just kind of like stumble through it, you know? Because that builds those muscles. Like if you can see someone get stuck and then weasel their way out of being stuck, that's a whole new skill set, right? That's all about just working your way through it. Yeah. Yeah. When it does kind of click, at least just enough so that you can kind of make progress or make something that you've been dreaming of. I mean, honestly, like the streaming setup that I've done right now, when I've been able to figure out, oh, wait, I can do this thing that unblocks me from something I've really, really wanted to do forever. Um, that's huge. That's a huge life changing thing, you know? It does change things up a whole bunch. And I'm hoping that eventually, like, I can kind of expand this out further too, because I would really like to create a setup for myself that's a little bit like Patreon, but not using Patreon, because like I want to get away from platforms controlled by other people, you know? And there are some things that I'm not going to be able to get out of because like I'm still going to need a payment processor because I can't process payments on my own. So I'm probably going to end up using like Stripe for something like that. And that comes with its own issues. But I would love to be able to create a platform as a creator that I can be like, hey, here's my videos, here's my tutorials, here's a way in which you can donate to me or sign up for memberships, here's my community, and have it all be something that like that I'm hosting myself, that I have some sort of control over myself, but is also an essential part of the tutorial itself to be able to help other creators also create their own digital spaces. Because like while Patreon's kind of great, at least it seems to be great for a lot of creators, and other platforms are out there to like work on those things. When you are reliant on a certain platform, you become trapped, right? Like if you are reliant on YouTube or Twitch or Patreon or any of these other platforms, if they change their policies, if they kick you off their situation, you don't have any sort of recourse, right? But if you're doing it yourself, if you're hosting it yourself, like there are things that you can be kicked off of, but you still maintain most of your systems, right? Like if I get kicked off of Stripe, I can find a different payments processor, and my visitors, my users, they still just use my website, right? They use my management stuff. And so if I have to switch out the underlying technology, they don't really get impacted. They don't even have to know, right? So I think that would be really useful for a lot of creators, especially because it does seem like the creator landscape right now is people want to take control of their own stuff again, you know? And I don't blame them. All the policy changes of Twitch and YouTube and watching people's viewerships go down and having to deal with ads and being beholden to like Amazon or Google, like it's a ripe landscape for us to do something different, you know? Yeah, keeping your own control matters. Absolutely. What is what's your difficulty using your iPad more? Or I guess to put it another way, what would you like to use your iPad for that you're currently not using it for? Gosh dang it, Apple, stop giving me thumbs up that I didn't ask for. I need to turn off those gestures. Where are they? Yeah, I use my iPad almost exclusively for Procreate as well. I think, you know, the difficulty with an iPad is you have to kind of find the right app. And again, like then you have to like pay for it, which like that's difficult, right? You know, like not the paying for it explicitly, but the fact that you are limited to what you can put on your iPad from the like Apple store. And there are definitely other ways to be able to put stuff on your iPad, like third party stuff outside of the App Store, but it takes a certain level of knowledge because they gate you behind it, right? So it's like the stuff that you have on there isn't like owned by you per se. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely understand that issue. Uh, and you know, honestly, again, this is one of those reasons that I'll turn to WordPress, right? And I know I'm really like I'm a single note here because everything is a nail and all I have is a hammer, that sort of thing, because WordPress has been my life for the last like 20 years. But here's the thing, right? So say you create your own WordPress site, and let's actually say you invest the like $10 a month or whatever to have your own WordPress site like out on a server and instead of on your home computer. You can do this on your home computer, but like for the sake of example and ease of use, I'm going to just say we have it hosted on a hosting site like DigitalOcean or Bluehost or whatever. You can even do this with WordPress.com. Again, Automatic product. I work for Automatic. But you can do it, you can host it anywhere, right? But the nice thing about that is even if you have your site private, you can log into it from your iPad, right? You can log into it from your computer. You can log into it from wherever. And if you have your notes, if you have your journal, like there, that means that you can keep things like in one place and working in harmony together, right? You can load up your website on your iPad and just use that as your notes. And if you want to take track of things, if you want to put in pictures or whatever else, or even video, you have that access from your iPad device as well as from your computer. Or, say you're stuck out in public with nothing but a library, you can go to the library computer and add things to it as well, or, look things up. That's one of the reasons that I really like being able to have my own website of any sort, is because it is really accessible from anywhere. So like that's really cool too. Yeah, absolutely. I'm here to work with you. I don't really have anyone else who's asking me for this sort of advice right now, so I'll tell you what. Um, we'll make this a positive feedback loop. You tell me what you're looking to do and where you're at, and I will help you do it. And that will be content. I feel that way about real life, the whole wanting to be organized and having zero clue to go about it. As you can kind of see, I'm not the most organized or put together. I'm also in the middle of like rearranging my office. So, like, some of this mess is just from me, like, trying to sort things out and get things just in a little bit of a better order. But I would be lying if I said that this hasn't looked like this for the last like year and a half, or basically since I moved in. Honestly, it looks a lot cleaner than it has. So, real life organizing, not so great at. Digital organizing, also not so great at. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't really take the time, but I have the skills. I know the skills for how to do it. Don't worry, the rest of the house is just as messy. Like, we're working on it. It's one of those things, right? Do, do, do. I still have no idea how to turn off these stupid gestures. So I guess I'm gonna live with it. Of course, it only seems to work when I don't want it to work. I don't know. And yeah, I don't blame you for being as easily intimidated for that sort of thing. I mean, a lot of people are. Like, that's just kind of what it comes down to it. Especially because like the last 10 years of internet development have really revolved around like companies and making apps and making platforms, like things that really lock you in and limit your control. So like this is really outside of the box. This is really outside of like what's expected in terms of from us, from what our internet experience is, right? And so it is intimidating to do things at first. However, that's one of the reasons that I really like kind of starting with things that are like on your computer itself, because then you don't have to figure out everything, right? You only have to figure out kind of what's in front of you for it. And I think that helps a whole lot with just being able to tinker around. And, if you fuck it up, who cares, right? It's only yours, and you can just delete it. You can start over. It's all just fine. So yeah, absolutely. We'll figure out when I can stream next to do some of the stuff, and maybe I'll see if you're available and we can just do something live in that sort of way. Yeah, nice. Excellent. Kenny's found the squirrel dog toy that I have coated in catnip to keep him busy. Because when he's not busy, he shouts a lot. Uh, and as much as I love him, his shouting cuts right through me, just like right through the head. And he does it a lot. Yeah, I also miss simple forums, which is one of the reasons that I'm looking to get back into it. Um, I have this impression that other people won't enjoy forums. I know that we've talked about it, you and I have in the past, and I'm really glad to hear that, because if I do start one, you're going to be the first person I hit up to be like, hey, can you help me test this? But like, I know that there's an intimidation factor when it comes to signing up for a website that's not on one of these mega platforms, because then you have to have another username and another password and all those sort of things. And not everyone's used to using like password managers and such. And so like that in of itself can be fairly intimidating in terms of getting people to join. But like my vision for the future, right? My vision for the future for myself, but also for myself, but also hopefully for other people who want to do this similarly, is that I can build a small community using technology that I control myself, as opposed to trying to appeal to like a million people or whatever, right? Like I don't need a million fans or a million viewers, but like I would like to really grow my community organically using my own platform, and to do something like Patreon to help build up a supporter base. Um, Joe Hills is a Minecrafter that I feel like um, embodies some of this philosophy. Now he's still using Patreon, but what I really like about him is that his videos aren't ad sponsored or anything else, and his streams aren't either. He's got a donation for certain things for when he's streaming to like increase cam size and interact with the community in that way. Um, but his videos are all sponsored by patrons using Patreon. And I like that better, right? Because I feel like these big companies have really corrupted the landscape when it comes to digital communities. And I would much rather make a much smaller living off of people that I know and that I care about and that I have this like personal connection with, instead of leveraging brands to, or other platforms to help build my presence and be beholden to them. Like, really, that's what it comes down to. I don't want to be beholden to companies. I want to be beholden to my community. I want to create things that my community finds valuable. And I don't want to sell out my community to these big companies. And I know it's going to be harder to work that way. I know it's going to take a lot more development, a lot more effort, but like, that's what feels ethical, you know? it feels ethical that I'm making something for people and not making something to leverage people as a product to get myself paid, right? Yeah. Yeah, Patreon covers a whole bunch of things. I mean, it's like OnlyFans, right? And I know that there's issues with OnlyFans and all those other sites as well. But they all cover a wider platform than what they say. Like, there are people who run cooking streams over on OnlyFans, and it's not just for porn or whatever. But, that's cool. Yeah, stepping away from convenience. That is absolutely what I'm going for because I feel like we've lost a lot of the valuable parts of being human through acquiescing to convenience because a lot of what convenience is doing is taking control out of our hands and putting it into the hands of people with money, and like they've already got enough control. Fuck them. Like, we don't need that. We need each other, and we should be doing things for each other. Yeah. Yeah, right? It's applying that kind of homesteading principle of like community sourcing and applying it to a digital landscape, which is absolutely what I want to do. And I want to make that possible not just for myself, but for other people as well. Because like I am really tired of watching video creators and then having it interrupted for an AG1 sponsorship or NordVPN, all that crap. Like, I don't blame other creators for doing it, right? I can't blame other people for trying to make a living because it's hard. And you know what? I'm not exactly proud of the things that I do to make a living right now. Like some of it, yes, but for some of the customers I work for, no. You know? Um and it really eats at my soul, and I'm sure it does for other people too. So like I would love for us to be able to create something that allows people to step outside of that. Commercialization has killed a lot of things. Like absolutely a lot of things. Um if you've read anything about the gift economy, they talk about that a lot because what things seem to have done is that adding in the commodification of things has put together kind of a middle person in terms of value, right? It's not just one person providing value to another, but when you have currency in the middle of that and when you make things into commodities, like you have another person who's there who's like, okay, well, I'm going to take a cut for being in the middle. I'm going to take a cut for facilitating this transaction. It's just like your digital payment processors. They're taking a cut for facilitating that transaction. But a lot of those middle people are taking more and more of a cut. So like the value that you're providing versus the value that other people are getting, like there's only there's only a small percentage that's actually reaching your viewers. And that's like not great. I think people are intimidated uh, by the hard work. I think a lot of people are looking for instruction manuals in a lot of ways. I know I'm guilty of this too, in the sense of like, not only is it hard to do, it's hard to figure out when you're not used to it and when there's a lot of work going into it. I mean, it's just like DIY tech, right? DIY living is also hard work and it's intimidating when you don't know how and when you have limited resources to work with, especially because if you fuck up, you're down that money or that resource and everything else. Um, and so I get why people are intimidated by that too, in the same way that people are intimidated by the technology. It's the same thing. What do you mean like hard work wannabes? I mean, I've seen influencers. There's all sorts of influencers out there who are pretending to do the hard work, and I've definitely seen that. there's definitely a lot of people out there who are pretending to do something that they're not actually doing. Um, and a lot of people who are doing the hard work, but I feel like when you see people with their like really overly polished videos where they're all clean and in fashionable outfits in like big, clean, pristine kitchens, they're not doing the work. They're pretending to do the work. Oh, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, I've definitely seen people accused of being like tryhards for wanting to do things or yeah, like on Tumblr there's definitely a section of it where people are like, why would you do this? Why would you give up modern convenience? You're being foolish, you're being a conspiracy theorist, you're being X, Y, and Z. Um, and they just don't get it. They haven't really absorbed how much their life is being controlled in a lot of ways by these mega corporations. Or, even if they have, they don't really see this as necessarily connected. Um, which is fine, I guess. That's their problem, really, when it comes down to it, because, like, we've experienced it. We've experienced the shit, and so we're shoveling the shit. Yeah, I'm much more enthused to watch people who are authentically showing up as themselves than anyone who's trying to popularize things or make things go viral or make things like hot takes. I'm not interested in that. I want to make connections with real people, like real authentic people. And that even includes the content that I absorb. Like, there's no value to me in watching people who are pretending to do this work. We need to figure it out together, right? All right, it is noon, so I think I'm going to pop off for a while so I can get myself some lunch. But I might be back on this afternoon depending on how much bandwidth is left on my cell plan or how much I actually need to get into doing work. Because I've done a little bit of work, but I've mostly chatted. This has been absolutely lovely, though. I look forward to doing this again, and I look forward to doing this with something planned beyond just kind of sitting here and working and stuff. So I will chat with you later, and thanks for joining me. Thanks for keeping me company. Take care.